Yeah, and you said a lot of words that we repeat a lot in this podcast related to the medical health wellness industry, which is decentralization, not working in silos, and looking for the empowerment of the patient or the health professional in deciding for its own health.
Mm-hmm.
You work in a sense. Well, your main topic is tech, no,
Mm-hmm.
in its intersection with the social, the cultural, and even the what we can term as health. Um, what 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 drove you to, or what still drives you to keep writing about health? What's the question that's still in your mind all the time when you're talking about health?
Mm. Well, I would say my primary attraction is to the way that technology either changes or reveals something about how we as humans move through the world. So I think all good journalism is kind of like focusing on the moment when something changes, right? It's this like turning point, whether that's in relation to innovation or an interpersonal relationship or geopolitics or whatever. You're looking for those moments where everything changed. And you get a lot of them in technology, which is why it's a cool field to be looking at. But with respect to health, like I've written a lot of health stories that I didn't even, technology is really changing everything. And what does that mean for the people who are interacting with it? So I'll give a couple just quick examples. The first story I wrote for Wired, actually, the very first one, was about breast pumps, which are devices that millions of women use every year when they're breastfeeding, but which hadn't fundamentally changed since like the 1800s. Like the modern breast pump at the time still looked pretty similar to what people used in like the 19th century, and frankly used to milk cows, which is horrible. Like, I mean, you could talk to any woman about these devices and they'd say they're uncomfortable, they're noisy, they're heavy, they break all the time. Like, I can't use them, covertly. I have to be tethered to the wall. It's a horrible experience. But it wasn't until 2017 that any startup really decided that was a problem worth solving. And then all of a sudden there were like tons of startups trying to create a better breast pump. And I thought that was such an interesting story, kind of at the intersection of women's health and startups and technological innovation and kind of consumer gadgetry, where for some reason, like all the stars just aligned, and the net result was that a lot of women had a much better experience with breast pumps, and VCs for the first time saw that that was a category that could be a really good investment. And so now, I mean, the landscape has changed dramatically, and not just in that particular category, but with women's health in general. Like, it's a very, very hot startup category now, which is kind of remarkable to see. So yeah, I mean, those stories I think are interesting to me because they're not just about our health, but they're about how like we can kind of work with technology to live better, and also about like who gets to live better, right? Like who is inventing the technology for whose benefit.
Yeah, which I think gender studies is allowing you to ask very good questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing with technology. In a sense, we sometimes believe that technology is over here and we are over there and we are separate. But
yes.
We are already technology. We are cyborgs. We are products and producers of this technology. And because it's so embedded in what we are, in that sense, everything that we are is concerning to health. What is health? What is life? What are the main implications or worries that you have when you are investigating your stories and this continually drive to keep technologizing our health, our life, our death, and what happens even after death?
Yeah, wow, these are great questions. Well, one concern I have is just in general, and this applies very specifically to health, but to other categories as well, is whether or not technology becomes kind of like a distraction from the real problems. So you see this a lot with health, where there's this this impulse to gather more data, to augment our understanding of our own health. I mean, you see this with wearables. Like there's so much going on in the wearable space that's really cool in terms of like what we can now track in real time with our bodies. But at times it feels like a distraction, right? Like the amount of data that we have does not, in fact, make us healthier. It can make us more aware, but we already kind of know the things that would make us healthier, and we don't necessarily need like a minute-to-minute glucose monitoring wearable to know that we need to be exercising and eating healthy and getting sleep. Like those are things that we can just kind of do without. So I think there sometimes is an element of distraction with technology in health. And I also think that there's sometimes an overconfidence in what technology can do. So this again applies to categories far beyond health, but technology is really just, a term we use for tools that help us understand something better. So in the health space, going back to wearables, there are some amazing advances in kind of things that can pick up on electrical impulses on your skin, or that can take a very, very small amount of blood and give you very sophisticated readings in real time, or, any number of other devices. There are devices you can wear on your head that help track, what stage of sleep you're in at night, or mattresses that use your basal temperature to track your sleep at night. I mean, all kinds of really cool things. And in terms of innovation, like those tools are much more sophisticated than what existed 50 years ago. But I also think that we can put too much faith in them. Like those sleep tracking devices are sort of notoriously faulty and wrong. And I think, I've anecdotally had so many friends kind of, wake up or come into the office in the morning and they look at their like Aura ring, and the Aura ring says they slept really badly, but they feel rested. And then they have this kind of crisis of confidence, did I actually sleep badly? And they tend to over index on their trust in the device rather than their own lived experience. So, I think there's value in having that data, but there's also value in kind of trusting yourself and knowing what it feels like to be in your body, and, using that as a compass to decide what to do for your own health.
Yeah. And, it's this overconfidence, I think, can be perfectly well explained because technology has done so many great things, and it really has done a lot of work for us, like the dishwasher or even the peel. And, that solved a few problems. And now we're just waiting for the next machine or the technological advancement that will eradicate cancer or will curb global warming. But I think that's one of the biggest dangers. One, technology itself produced those huge crises. And second, we believe that the solution will be on the technology. And that will definitely keep us distracting, that probably what we need to do is just trust who we are and not only what our phone is saying.